Hello and welcome back. It's OzoneB and we're taking a break from Vault Hunters for a little bit back here in the World Building series. And today I'm feeling like it's time to go back to the church and kind of tackle the landscaping around that area. I really should be rebuilding this house. So first of all, when I added the wing, I never really attached the wing to the house because my plan was always to add a second story. But secondly, I'm just very quickly outgrowing this very rudimentary storage and I need more room. But we have to go where inspiration strikes, and right now, inspiration has me looking at the church. So that's where we're going to go. All right, Midnight, it's time to go on an adventure. So we're back over here at the church, and while I do really like this build, the landscaping was never really done. For being an evil church, it's very green. And it doesn't really go together. It needs some landscaping. So I feel like this evil church kind of needs, first of all, it needs a graveyard. I've been thinning out this hill over here and I've used it to mine some moss, but it needs a big graveyard right here. But I feel like the church, the evil in the church needs to be like seeping out through the soil around. So there needs to be no green grass around, lots of coarse dirt, maybe soul sand. I want a nice big dead tree out front. So I really think this area needs a lot of attention, and I think it's going to make this whole build just look that much better. So that's the plan for today. Plus we've got the zombie spawner in here that's not complete, and now that we've been to the nether and gotten soul sand, I want to complete that as well. So the first thing I want to do is kind of create a wall boundary around the church. And I feel like it needs to be fully enclosed in a small wall. I've got these deep slate bricks, which I think will work pretty well for that. And basically anything inside this wall I'm going to terraform. But I want the wall to be around the church in a decent space. And then moving off in this direction quite a ways to encompass a graveyard. So let's get that laid out and see what we're left with. There we go. I think that's a pretty good area off to the one side. I took out all the moss that I'd been growing over here because I don't think moss is going to work inside this landscaping, but there's still several around. So the idea was to lay out the wall and give it enough space for a big graveyard over here. I do think that's a good enough space, and I want to like re-terraform this hill completely. It's because it got really messed up. So now let's start a time lapse and start replacing all of this dirt with other things. Well, as usual, I have completely underestimated the resources required for this project. That just goes to show you how far out of practice I am. But I do like the way this is coming together. The soul soil near the church really shows that kind of evil eking out, and the coarse dirt really shows that there's life is being strangled from the ground around the church. I've got a lot more to do, but I do kind of like the way this is coming together. I've got some patches of green that are struggling to hold on, and I think that works out pretty well. I'll worry about all the graves and grave markers a little later on, but all in all, I'm fairly happy with the way this is going. But now I got to go back to the nether and get more soul soil. So now it's time to worry about some of the graves and grave markers that we've got here in the cemetery and, well, make it a cemetery. I left this area mostly flat, or at least I made this area mostly flat, because if you're thinking about a cemetery, that's what you would want. It's got a fairly gentle slope leading down where more graves could be had, but definitely going to be spacing out some, um, and I think all of the graves are going to be open. This is the evil church after all, and so yeah, I think in the lore of this church, they have exhumed all of the bodies that were in the cemetery. It used to not be an evil church, and maintaining a cemetery was just something that they did. But over time, they changed, and slowly, all of the graves became opened. I think one of the really hard things about this is coming up with some tombstone type designs that don't look like crosses. And that's really kind of hard in Minecraft when you've got full blocks. So this is kind of some of the things that I'm trying to decide, and I'm trying to decide if it's going to be a 2 wide or a 1 wide hole. Actually, I'm thinking a 2 wide hole is proper. Yeah, I'm thinking the 2 wide holes are much better off. So yeah, so that means we're going to keep most of the tombstones at 2 wide. I'm going to try to change up some blocks in order to make it be falling down of different heights, etc. And then additionally, next to each one, there's got to be a pile, because it can be partly filled in too, sure, because they've been exhumed. They're going to need somewhere to put the dirt. And yeah, I think it's going to be worthwhile to have it be partly filled in. So yeah, there we go. So some of the dirt's fallen back in, and it's just kind of a ramshackle quick job of digging these things up. Now, we got a few more to do. Well, that is a pretty good start. It's still pretty flat, and I need some more decorations in terms of dead bushes. I got to go collect some of those. But we've got a whole bunch of open graves. We got a whole bunch of various gravestones, and now I'm running into the problem where I want to place them is the entrance to the zombie spawner grinding room. So I think that's the next step. We don't have to have the whole graveyard completely done, but yeah, we need to move the entrance to the zombie spawner. But this is looking really ramshackle. It honestly looks like an asteroid hit it or something, but I think for what it's supposed to be, it's good. And I've gone and dotted some lanterns around to keep it all spawn-proofed, or at least do my best. Now, each aisle has something of an old path. We've got the tombstones in various states of disrepair and decay. Some of them have fallen over, making slabs on the ground. Some of them have even fallen into the hole. So yeah, we got lots of variation through here, and the terrain is pretty darn rough. It started out as a pretty nice, smooth, gradual hill, but once you add all the piles of dirt around from the exhumed tombstones, that goes away pretty darn quickly. So, yeah, this one needs a pile of dirt. So, boom, 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 boom. There we go. It's a nice pile of dirt. Throw another one inside because some of it falls in, and there we go. And it doubles as a step if I ever fall into these things. But this has been a problem. The grass, if any of these are next to real grass, the grass can spread and grow down here, and that I do not want. So I've got to go back in and put more coarse dirt down at the very bottom so that it no longer will grow grass in there. See, here's another one. Kind of a pain. So first order of business is to come down here and turn off the spawner. That's why we left this access panel. So just one torch right on the thing should be enough. And then we can work on it in peace. So now I just need to dig down here to meet up with the existing tunnel, or should have to anyway. I'm going to put water in there so that I can actually get back out pretty easily. And when I do, we're going to have to extend this tube all the way to the top for the drop shaft. But let's get going. Boom, there we go. So I had to take things down another block, but the trick is this submerged wall right here. This wall is waterlogged underneath, and the combination of that wall being waterlogged and the soul sand here being above it means that the water flow will push you right on in to this thing. And then we have a hole back here so that once these are source blocks, which they're not currently, the water will want to flow naturally into here, and that will add some additional suction that will pull the mobs into this bubble column. Of course, I could just rely on the constant stream of spawns to push them in, but this I think is a better way to go. The wall is 1.5 blocks, so you notice as I'm riding along here in the water stream, when we get to the wall, it steps up a little bit. And then again, when I get into the soul sand, at this point, it's just a half step up to get all the way in. So that's going to be the trick to get the mobs in here. Now we need to build this thing all the way up and put kelp in here to turn this flowing water into water sources. And just like that, it is done. And here we can see the mob farm in action. The mob spawning and flowing on down, popping right on into that bubble column and being whisked up to the top layer. Once there, they have a nice little hop out before sliding on down and around the corner and being dropped unceremoniously back into the chamber down below. Once there, they're softened up nicely and are a nice one-hit easy kill. Now, I'm not really happy with this setup. I was going with the alternating slabs all the way down to kind of let you see in, but it really makes things hard for one, target the mobs, and two, let the XP out. I did put this slab here to let the XP out, and it usually generally works, but I feel like this thing needs to be done better. But nevertheless, the plumbing is done, and it's not that big a deal. I mean, it's not that hard to do. So I'm really happy overall with the way this is coming together. The outside, it's in the ugly stage and still needs a lot more work. Now, it's been a few days since I did this work, and I've come back to it, and I kind of don't really like it. It's very samey. It needs more deviation in the color palette. So I went and got some other blocks. I think some podzol will go good in here, and I think some dripstone could go here to kind of give this brown some deviation. But I don't like the texture of all of the graves being opened and all the piles of dirt. It just kind of looks messy. It doesn't really look like a graveyard. I really think that I'm going to redo that, but for right now, I'm not going to worry about it. I want to focus on some big dead trees around here, and so I got to find a good place for that, and I've got an idea, so I'll meet you over there. So I think I'm going to start with the regular old azalea, the non-flowering kind. They tend to grow kind of wonky. So we'll grow up a regular tree with some bone meal, and yeah, I like how the leaves are off-center and not perfectly symmetrical. Now we need to replace all of the stems. I want to replace it with basalt, because I think basalt looks like a stripped out tree. Don't you think? And then I think I should have done this the other way around, because I think all my leaves are gonna die. But then I think I want to replace all of the existing leaves with blackstone. I think blackstone could look like dead leaves. And that's the goal with this, is I want this to look like the tree's been petrified. But I gotta hurry because these leaves are decomposing because I took out the wood. Whoops. Have to remember that for next time, huh? Now to top off the sickly feeling of it and to keep it spawn-proofed, we're going to throw on some glow lichen and give it a little encouragement to spread around. Yeah, I kind of like that. I really kind of like that. We can switch it up a little bit with some different colored blocks, but I think the blackstone really kind of does look like leaves that have been killed and just petrified. So yeah, I'm going to have to do this a few more times. Now this time for the stem, I want to use smooth basalt. We're not seeing that much of it, but I like it. I like it. And then we got to add some more lichen to it to make it gloomy and look sickly. Now one last block that I'm going to try for the stem is gravel. And I think that looks pretty darn good. This tree, I took more liberties with. I shaped it on my own. Basically, I took the foliage that was there and like raised it up a little bit and kind of, just shaped it a little bit on my own. But anyway, I think that the gravel makes a really good stem. So these kind of dead trees, I'm liking. Now, these are just based on the vanilla trees. We can certainly do something more custom, but these are cool. I think they're going to add a lot of life to this area. So I think this next one, I'm going to try to just wing it myself, just go with my own design, and let's see what I get. Yeah, for completely freestyling it, I think that works out pretty well. I used top as the stem this time for the tree, and again, I think that works out pretty well. These guys are pretty annoying, making it hard to do much of anything. But anyway, it's a funky tree, and it's got lots of, well, it just looks like a weird leaning dead tree. Ah, no, that's not supposed to happen. He just flew out of the hole there somewhere. Oh, I am glad I was here to catch that. The first, yes, look at that. There's a full block there. Whoa! Ah! I made an iron farm apparently too. Wow. Um, okay. Okay. Well, yes, so there was a full block height here that the zombie floating on a chicken was able to get out. And then all the villagers summoned a golem to their rescue. Wow. I totally did not expect that to happen. Looks like I've got an automated zombie farm here now. I don't get any XP from it, but the rotten flesh, I guess, just keeps on piling up and I don't have to do anything at all. Hmm, that may just work. I guess it's not quite so perfect because I do still need to be here in order to make it work. Kind of gives me an idea, honestly. Well, let's get this fixed up and get back to work outside. So now that the trees are all put up and I've dotted the terrain with additional blocks, including some terracotta right there and some podzol, and then there's some soul soil in there with that. I think we've got a lot more variation and I'm liking the looks of this a lot more. The trees really do add a lot of variety to it, but I still don't love the graveyard and all the open graves. So, time to take those all down. I'm going to fill them in and I'm going to top every graveyard with podzol to kind of mark where the graves are going to be. I think that's going to help out quite a bit. I think some of them I'm also going to slab over, like there's a small topper to the grave, I guess. I want to put like a big mausoleum right here in the middle instead of some graves. I think that will also give it some more variety. So, anyway, sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't. So now it's time to go back and try something different. Okay, progress check. Yeah, honestly, I'm thinking this is working a whole lot better. I do like having the individual graves marked out by podzol. We still need to pop some other podzol in for some more variation, but yeah, I think this is looking a little bit better than that over there. It's always good to check your work before you get too far along to make sure it's actually looking like what you think it should look like. I do feel like I want to have a couple graves that are left open, and I think I might open up one of these up front and maybe one later on. But yeah, I'm liking the way this looks more than the way that looks. So we're going to keep going in that direction. So I've cleared out an area that's 5 by 5 for the mausoleum. And yeah, I've got a bunch of andesite to try to work this thing in. I think definitely first thing off the bat is we need some stairs up and need a door. Mausoleums always have very sturdy doors. And now we can build everything around that. I think this is coming together well. I like the mausoleum down there. It's got a lot of nice polished andesite with some regular andesite variation, a little bit of ruining going on like the rest of it, but a structure like that is a little more formidable than a tombstone like that. I do have this one where it's got like a cap instead of just an open podzol ground, but I do like having the podzol there, kind of like marking each grave. I did leave a couple that were left open, and yeah, I'm really liking this. I think this looks a whole lot better than the haphazard mess that was here before. Now, while this all does look good, the wall is still very, very plain. I put up the wall just to mark the boundary, and now we need to go back because the wall needs a little bit more character than it's got right now. So that's the next step. But unfortunately, we've run out of time. I really wanted to get this all completed this episode, but it's just not going to happen. There's more things that I want to do besides the wall. So I'll go gather some things in between episodes and we'll finish it up in the next one. So I sure appreciate you joining me for this journey. I'm enjoying it and learning quite a bit, I think, as I learn to stretch my creative muscle in this world. I really like how things are turning out. It takes a lot longer than I ever anticipated, honestly, but It's a good journey, and I'm glad to be making it, and I'm glad to have you here with me, too. Let me know what you like best about this project this week. Is it the tombstones and their variety, the mausoleum? Maybe all the colors and textures around the church itself? I'm really interested to know in what you think and how you like it, so please leave me a comment. Thanks so much. Remember, be excellent to each other. I'm out.